All right.
Just fighting and struggling and working and not sleeping. You know how it is.
What are you doing, Councilman Arthur?
So I'm catching my breath.
Good.
I just scrambled, dropped my kids off, and I'm here to help announce the next round of ARP spending,
Outstanding.
American Rescue Plan, the Louisville Rescue Plan,
Yep.
and I'm excited. We got some allocations I think really meet some needs that we got in our community. So,
Outstanding.
are you live right now?
I'm live right now. Thank you for your work. We
Yeah,
appreciate you so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you for your work.
Absolutely.
Watching this, if you mad about something, let every Metro Council member you
Yes.
know what you're mad about and what we need to do to address it.
Thank you.
Everything that we're supposed to do is supposed to be on behalf of you. So please, please, please never forget that. We got to work for the collective of people in this city. I'm excited about the youth development announcement.
I am
You know, it's
too.
great. I can't vote on this. Well, you'll see why.
Okay.
I was sponsoring it, but now I had to take my name off. So I won't vote on it. I won't sponsor it, but I'm supportive. I'm a shadow supporter.
Outstanding. Thank you, Councilman Ja'Cory Arthur. It's been quite a
Thank
first
you.
couple of years, right?
Yeah. You want me to drop the news right here that I'm not
Go
going
ahead.
to?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
This-
We need you, man.
I hate my job, but I love you, so I'm here.
That's right.
So that's it in a nutshell.
Glad we got the safe open space, which is now safe outer space, which is called the Hope Village, got up and running yesterday.
Yeah, I was over there. I'm excited about that too, and I'm really excited for the buildings to get renovated.
Absolutely.
We can start moving folks in. You know, if they want to take advantage of that housing. That was like the deal breaker for me.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I got the call like 2 days before it was announced, and I was just like, "Can we get housing on that site too?" And
Yep.
I was happy to say that they said yes.
It's
We
very
can have
good.
housing. So
It's very good.
that'll no telling when that'll happen. You know how construction works. Just like with the whole village itself, the construction kept pushing everything back. But yeah, about to flip that and turn that into some housing for folks.
And I'm about to go down to Park Hill at 4 o'clock when Stachel Bussey and the Hope Bus are going to present Antonio T. Maid Taylor and the Real Young Prodigies with a check for $5,000 so they can make their trip to Harvard.
Oh, that's incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
That's so incredible. Shout out to the Young Prodigies. Perfect example of civic engagement.
Yep.
They helped pass the ordinance.
I know.
The only reason I filed the Crown Act was because I heard them at Justice Fest, and they said they wanted to pass it around the country. They said they wanted to do it in the state, and they also said you need to do this at the city level too. Will you please help? Of course, it's my job. Pass laws.
We couldn't get it through the state, but 14 or so other states have passed the Crown Act.
Yeah, Kentucky's behind.
Of course.
But you know what will change that? I cannot stress this enough. Politicians, some of them, not all of them, I'm dead broke, but politicians who have perceived organized money and power
Yep.
will never have what masses of people have, which is an army. Slavery was not abolished because of politicians. Jim Crow segregation was not abolished because of politicians. All of that changed because of masses of people standing up against politicians and forcing them to do their job, which is to work for the people.
Yep.
So if we want things to change in Kentucky, Louisville, we got to get out of the Louisville mindset, thinking that we live on an island.
Yep.
That might be cute for some likes and retweets and discourse on social media, but it's not living in our reality.
Right.
Which is that everything that happens in Frankfurt that impacts the Commonwealth impacts Louisville.
Absolutely.
You know, from tenants' rights that we want to pass here, from minimum wage that we want to pass here, abortion access, all of that is impacted by what's happening at the state level.
Yep.
So if you ain't connecting with your cousins and your friends and your family in Lexington and in Harlan County, and if you ain't connecting across this Commonwealth, you're really not trying to progress the city of Louisville, let alone the Commonwealth at large. So,
absolutely.
We're still slowly but surely getting there where people have that understanding. We got to get out of the silo of just thinking that we got to do what we can to make Louisville better. Louisville won't get better unless the whole Commonwealth is better, for real.
You're making it better.
I'm trying.
Thank you, Ja'Cory.
Oh, I'm trying. I beat my head against the wall sometimes.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear this announcement. This is exciting stuff.
I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that the way that we did community engagement for the American Rescue Plan, that we start doing that with the city budget. Because the city budget, like there's a comment form, and and we just got all these comments. You get 1,000 comments,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not like any data to understand what the comments mean. It's just a bunch of random comments.
Right.
We might as well be searching through Facebook to get feedback about the budget. So I'm hoping that, you know, the process we used here was basically having open comments, of course, but also asking questions that you know, showed the option, show what was possible, instead of just saying, here's the whole city budget, what do you think we should do with it?
Yep.
Because that's misleading. Police contract is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see that police budget increase this year. Why is it going to increase? Because we are obligated by that contract, both of the contracts that passed, both of which I voted no on because I had a long list of concerns. But that police budget will increase because we're obligated to pay those contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So what we could do to cut the funding, if people want to divest from police and put it elsewhere, the salaries can't change.
Right.
But we could, you know, limit the recruit classes. We could lay people off. And once we get into those conversations, we really got to sit down and have detailed plans on how we even do that. I haven't heard anyone come to me with those ideas really mapped out yet. But there's a long list of people in the community that are working on budget items and priorities. Hit me up. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's work. Let's be about it. But we can't be last minute and then expect things to change. We got to be engaged all year round, before the election, during the election, after the election. Otherwise, things will stay the same.
Boy, and these midterm elections coming up are so important. Our primary election coming up in May for mayor is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who say it's not important to vote for judges, they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, it ain't important to vote for judges until your mama get evicted.
Yep.
Or until, you know, you got somebody who gets a bail that keeps them locked up in that jail, that hellhole.
Yep.
So you better go out and figure out who you voting for. If you got, you know, a judge on your ballot, you got to be well aware of how that works. You got to be well aware of the county attorney. You got to do your research. Please do not just give your vote away. You give your vote away, you're really giving your power away. And when you transfer that power, you got to be careful who you transfer it to.
Well, that's why these forums are so important. And I'll be at the Urban League at the Merrill Forum tonight, which is really important. I think 8 of the 14 candidates are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really critical to ask questions and listen to the answers.
Hell yeah.
Listen to what people say.
Also note, like, I think sometimes people get they get like election fatigue because they think, oh, well, these candidates don't offer me anything. Again, it's a transfer of power, really, when you have somebody go and represent you instead of representing yourself.
Yep.
You have the power and the right to demand something of them. So if their agenda is like a nothing burger and there's nothing on there for you, then tell them what you want.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You have that power. I do it all the time. You know, if somebody hit me up, they want to talk about a campaign. What do you think about my campaign? Forget your campaign. This is what my people need. So are you going to agree to this?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think we get caught up in endorsing candidates when really they should be endorsing us, as in the voter. They should be endorsing ideas, our beliefs, our agenda. And then when they get put in office, we hold them accountable to that. People overuse the word accountability, but accountability requires leverage.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. I didn't campaign and say that I would address dangerous dogs.
I do that.
Okay. Now you should have put that on my agenda. But now, there was a dog attack in the park, and I had a brother who was really pressing me about introducing an ordinance.
Yep.
That's important. That's not on my agenda, bro. I got 100 ordinances I'm trying to figure out how to prioritize. Go talk to somebody else who campaigned on that, or who shared that or promised that of their constituents.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hold somebody accountable if you don't have any leverage to hold them accountable.
Gotcha.
And if nobody ever committed to doing that, and then you say, I'm going to hold you accountable. What do you mean you hold me accountable? You know?
So important.
It's like saying I'm going to hold my son accountable for not cleaning the toilet. I've never asked him to clean his toilet, ever. I would never submit him to that torture. Yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's important to understand what accountability means. But we're not there yet.
Thank you for all you do.
I'm just the dude who files the legislation. I'm like checking like alerts because
You know what you really are?
What's that?
The guy who answers the phone. You're the responsive one.
There were some people who say I don't answer the phone.
No, you've never not answered my call.
We get inundated with so many phone calls.
I know.
And most of them are like people trying to navigate government.
Right.
So it's not like, oh, I want to talk to you about this policy position or this ordinance. Most of it is like, somebody.
How do I get my garbage picked up?
That, or somebody said berries were falling from their tree and getting on their windshield.
Uh-huh.
Who do I call about that?
The berry washer.
Yeah, and I had no idea. So then we got to take the time to figure that out.
Yep.
And government's always changing. People are always coming and going. So it requires a lot of time. And I think people have to understand, like, there's some grace that needs to be had with certain people in office, because
Right.
if you ask, where's my council member, 9 times out of 10, they're with another constituent.
Exactly.
We can't be selfish and think that, a council member only works for us as an individual. We work for the collective of our constituents.
Yep.
30,000 people.
Yep.
That's a lot of people to work
That is
for.
a lot of people.
And a lot of, personalities to navigate and figure out. And I was just thinking about this earlier because somebody was talking to me about the power of voting. Voting, electoral politics is meaningless if people aren't organized and they don't know what they want.
Yep.
Because then we get in that chamber and we just got to guess.
Yep.
And then people get mad because we guess
Yep.
wrong.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
So if people know what they want, you're organized, we could change the city in no time.
Well, you know what you always say, it's up to us. It's up to us.
Yeah,
we can't always
everybody
rely
gotta be
on
involved.
somebody to do it for us. We have to take care of each other. We must love
Everybody.
and support one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Mhm. Everybody in this whole city got to be engaged and change. It can't just be a select few, because politicians aside, the select few people who are engaged,
Yep.
they get burned out.
Yep, that's right.
Oh, they get burned out. They don't
Compassion
even get
fatigue.
paid for it
Yep.
most of the time.
Compassion fatigue, political
crazy.
fatigue, leadership fatigue.
Mhm.
Don't you get fatigued. You got to stay with us.
I'm tired as hell.
I know. I know.
I'm tired as hell. And what sucks about it's like, I was telling the elder the other day, it's like I'm in office for 4 years, and sometimes I feel like I got 400 years of issues on my shoulders that I'm trying to, but it's impossible. I will never solve 400 years worth of issues in 4 years.
That's right.
In fact, and this sounds like super hopeless, but I would argue it's going to take longer than that 400 years to actually address everything that happened over that time, just because it takes longer to heal a wound.
Yep.
I play ball every now and then. I hurt my thumb playing ball, split second to inflict that pain, that damage. It took like 7 months for my thumb to heal.
Wow.
I mean, that's just the nature of pain.
Yep.
Mm.
Goodness.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Councilman Ja'Cory Arthur. Thanks for sharing. That was unexpected and pleasant.
This is my therapy.
I love it. There you go. That'll be $50. But you're on the house.
Take Cash App.
You're on the house.
You take Cash App.
Oh, it's good to see you. It's very good to see you.
Absolutely. Are you going to be at the budget hearing on Thursday?
I'll try. What time is it?
It's at 4.
I'll
Well,
try.
it's not a hearing. It's the address.
I'll
the
try.
budget
There's
address.
Councilman Bill Hollander.
There.
Hey, Bill.
It's at 4, so you pull up, and if not, like, I want to try as much as I possibly can, make myself available just to answer questions about the budget.
Yes.
Last year, I didn't know what was going on. I was in all these hearings, and all this money was being thrown there. I didn't know what we could change, what we could alter, but now this year I feel a lot more informed. So I'm in a place where I can help inform people even more.
It's awesome.
Something I hate is like sharing information that's inaccurate, and then it like
Yep.
causes a crazy storm.
Yep. Good deal. Budget hearing on Thursday. I'm going to put it on the calendar.
Yeah, if you can, like I said, just hit me up, and then we can just talk throughout the next few months and just make sure people understand how the budget process works, how they can engage with it. We got that comment form that'll be live on Thursday.
Very important.
How to advocate with council members, all sorts of things and ways to move city funding. So
I will amplify you at any given moment.
thank you
You're welcome. Thank you.
so much.
I appreciate it. I wonder where the mayor is. He's usually not late for
You might
these
have fell
things.
asleep. You never know.
Well, he's probably exhausted too. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate you, man. Well, that was a fun and unexpected surprise. Ja'Cory Arthur popped in and I went live and I got a couple of minutes of really valuable stuff to listen to. And I'm very grateful to him for the work that he does every single day. And as I said, he's one of those guys that always answers the phone. So is Bill Hollander, my own council member, who's represented our district for many, many years. And he's absolutely an amazing guy. So Ja'Cory Arthur just invited us to come to the budget hearing on Thursday at 4, and it looks like I'm going to be able to make it. I'll put it in my calendar. which is excellent. And the mayor should be here pretty soon. I'm not sure exactly. He's usually never late. So he must have gotten tied up with something. I don't know what. But we're going to be live in just a few minutes in the mayor's gallery because they are doing the announcement of the American Relief Plan for Louisville and the allocations that are going to take place in this segment of the American Relief Plan. So we'll be covering that, which is awesome. I just found out that Charles Booker is going to be at Carmichael's tomorrow at 6, so that's kind of cool. Frankfort Avenue, Carmichael's.
Hey, how are you?
How are you, Councilwoman?
Long time no see.
I know, it's been since last night.
I know.
Councilwoman Cassie Chambers Armstrong is here. And the media is here, and several other people, and we are just waiting on the mayor. This was set for 1:15, and obviously it's a little bit later than that, but that's okay because we're here. And just want you guys to think a little bit about what Judge Corey just said to us. It's all of our responsibility to be participants in the process. They're going to be putting out a form that asks people to say how they want their budget to be spent, and then understand that it's not always going to go the way they want it to because there are contracts in place that keep certain things from being done. So he addressed the police contract. Salaries are not going to change because those are in the police contract. So very important to understand how everything works, and the only way to do that is to become involved in policy making. I'm just recapping your conversation with me. I love it. So the budget meeting is at 4:00. You're invited to Metro Council chambers where the budget meeting will be taking place, and you can give your input on the form, which is also very important. Hey Nana, glad that you're with us. Wish everybody else was too. I don't know where everybody is. Why aren't people watching an important thing like the announcement of where all of the millions of dollars of COVID relief that have come into us, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to fund a whole lot of things. Where that money goes is very important to a huge part of this population. If you think you're not affected by where these American Relief Fund monies go, you are sadly mistaken. It's critically important because, as I said, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you cannot emphasize enough how bad we were in 2019 when all the budget cuts had to take place, and all of the city agencies were absolutely devastated. Lots of people were laid off, jobs were lost, all kinds of bad things happened, and we had an amazing rebound after COVID ended, which was great. And the American Relief Plan, which President Biden instituted, has given funding to things that we did not think that we were going to be able to get funding for. So very, very important. I'm so glad. Yes, Nancy, remember our voice counts. That's right. I know, Tony, that was great. I know, Dorothy Joe, that was pretty awesome. So we're running about 15 minutes behind, which is, again, as I said, unusual for the mayor because he's usually quite prompt with these press conferences. And here, I'll just show you what it looks like in here because I know everybody's interested. So this is the mayor's gallery, which is a really cool office. It's a really cool space in the offices. Here's all the folks who are here for the press conference. There's where all the media are lined up back there, for those of you who have not been inside this absolutely beautiful room where they do a lot of the announcements and have some special events and stuff. So American Relief Plan announcement is coming from Mayor Fisher when he gets here. In the meantime, I'll just let you know, I'll remind you that got some more live streams this afternoon. I actually posted my live stream schedule for today so you guys could follow along the bouncing ball. 4 o'clock, I'm going to be running down to Park Hill Community Center where the Hope Bus is presenting the Real Young Prodigies with a check for $5,000 so they can make their trip to Harvard. They've been invited to Harvard University, and they have to be able to pay to get there. They've never flown before. A lot of the kids have never been on an airplane, so Nairi and Antonio felt that was important instead of making a 13-hour drive with a bunch of teenagers at the cost of gas. So they've been able to secure some plane tickets. And of course, they need hotels and food and all that kind of stuff while they're there. So the Hope Bus is giving them a check for $5,000, which is absolutely incredible. I'm going to be stopping by Work the Metal because I understand there's an event. Morgan McGarvey, who is running for Congress for John Yarmouth's seat, is going to be attending. I'm going to run by there real quick on my way to the Candidates Forum, the Mayoral Candidates Forum at the Norton Healthcare Sports and Running Center, which is down on 30th and Muhammad Ali, and that starts at 6. So I'll be set up before 6 to live stream the Mayoral Forum. I understand Louisville Urban League is hosting, and I understand that 3 JCPS students are going to be the moderators. So we're going to be hearing from the youth, and that should be an amazing opportunity to hear mayoral candidates addressing the youth and answering their questions. So a full day. I'm going to run home in between things and check on the public back. And then tomorrow, as I said, Charles Brooker will be at Carmichael's at 6 o'clock. And then on Thursday, the Budget Committee meeting, which we just talked about, at 4, which is really cool. And then for those of you who have not heard about this place, there is a retail store that has just opened on Hurstbourne Lane. And we are going to be out letting people know we do not want it to stay. We want to ban retail puppy stores, and that's going to take place from 11 till 1. You're welcome to come out. The store is called Puppygram, and it's on the corner of Taylorsville Road and Hurstbourne Lane. That is Saturday. So that's the schedule, guys. All right, the mayor's here. Looks like you're getting ready to get started, so I will sit back and relax and enjoy the press conference.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming out here today to hear some more good positive developments taking place in our city. Now, over the next 2 weeks here, as we do each spring, our city will take an increasing focus in the international spotlight, and it's wonderful to see all the folks that are here in town. Just in the past couple of days, we've had visitors from Charlottesville, DC, big group from Albuquerque is here today as well, kind of checking out what's going on in the city and what they can learn from us and vice versa, and they take that back home. And of course, we got this small event called the Kentucky Derby coming up in 11 days or so. So it's just a fun time of the year here to be, and of course, it's wonderful to have the springtime coming upon us and seeing everything blooming and blossoming and growing. We've seen a lot of progress over the last 12 years. We've had challenges like every city, but when you step back and take a look at what we've done, we've got a lot to celebrate. Economic momentum, including investments in every part of our community, from Russell and Shawnee to Iroquois to Linden, in our work to make urbanism a 365-day-a-year tourist destination right now. We've had great advancements in education and lifelong learning, with 3 regional libraries, new libraries, the success of SummerWorks, youth employment, the creation of our Evolve 502 Promise Scholarships, where every JCPS student can have a Promise Scholarship to JCTC or KCTC or Simmons, taking away that financial barrier. Continued focus on health with our work to make life-saving COVID-19 vaccines easily available throughout our community. And unlike most of the world, we had a tremendous success with addressing equity with new investments in testing and vaccines. There was not a disproportionate burden of COVID on our communities of color here, and that is really something we should be proud of in terms of our health equity focus and results. And then, of course, we've got a lot of results with compassion. Our Give a Day celebration of service has one more week left, and we're expecting about 250,000 people to step up to help our city and help others throughout this month. So it's something we're very grateful for. So these are wins for our community and for our people, and they're generated by a lot of hard work from a lot of people here at Metro government and throughout our entire city. But if you know anything about us, we always say we can do more, we can go faster, we can help more people, and we have to, both as the council and in my office, look very clear-eyed at the challenges that we have. We say we're in the reality business, so we have to address these challenges. And that means recognizing the needs of our community often are much greater than what our financial abilities are. But compassion within our community oftentimes fills that gap or those gaps, but many of the challenges still persist. Our city needed outside investment, especially following the disruption of COVID-19. So I'm very grateful when the federal government said, hey, we're going to step in and help all of the citizens of America. I want to thank President Biden and Congress for understanding that cities, local communities were deeply at risk because the pandemic was so painful and because local communities have been in need of federal investment since at least the Great Recession. Our Congressman John Yarmouth also played a major role in this as chair of the Budget Committee in Congress. So out of the efforts of DC and came the American Rescue Plan, and it literally has been a true lifesaver for us. Today, as our city ramps up its annual celebration of everything we've achieved, we're going to announce right now the next round of our $388 million allotment in American Rescue Plan funding that will help us achieve even more. Last year, working with the council and with input from our community, we prioritized our spending in focused areas. So we started our announcements around ARP, around public safety, public health, obviously, addressing the COVID issues, homelessness and affordable housing, and then workforce development and healthy neighborhoods were the latter two. Last year, we invested in public safety, affordable housing, our pandemic response, and more. Today, we're taking steps to further invest in the health of our city. These are investments that will benefit every part of the community, but especially those most in need of support. And so they include $7.5 million for child care and early learning projects that will expand access, improve quality, and mitigate COVID-19 development delays. There you go. Let's hear it for child care. I'll take care of business with our kids. More improvements for our fantastic library system, including an $8 million expansion of our historic main library, an expansion of the Portland Library, and the establishment of new libraries in Fern Creek and Parkland. $1 million to address the tragic healthcare issues that lead continues to cause for people, $2 million to implement an electronic health records system, including telehealth capacity to help our Louisville Metro Public Health and Wellness team serve our community even better. And we certainly learned the need for that as we went through the challenges of the pandemic. Nearly $12.6 million to continue our response to COVID-19, including more life-saving vaccinations and treatments, broad investments in our parks and our pools across our community, and a public safety and quality of life investment of $8.5 million in our Office of Youth Development to help youth better access services and programs throughout our community. $10 million for the remediation of the Rhodia property on 9th Street so that brownfield can become a productive site for our community. It's long been there as a blight, so cleaning that up is a big, big deal. Councilman Hollander will also be sharing some news about Simmons College, in addition to a separate issue addressing employment barriers for formerly incarcerated individuals, two projects that he is going to talk about. So altogether, the $77.9 million in investments represent transformational changes in many neighborhoods throughout Louisville, and it's an opportunity to convert a list of projects we always hoped we could do into reality for our residents. I want to thank the Metro Council my team, and the community partners who've shared their thoughts throughout this process. And again, our federal partners for recognizing that cities and local communities are where the rubber meets the road. So many of the services people rely on, we deliver as the city. And as we fought against COVID-19, we needed this help. We still need it right now. We're certainly not out of the woods, but we've come a long, long way. So with these investments, we can take Louisville much further down the road to continue the wonderful momentum that we've got going on. So now we're going to hear from some of our partners on the council. Stuart Benson is not going to speak here, but I want to recognize him and thank him for being here with us today. But we'll start with our budget chair, Bill Hollander. Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of this will be a little repetitive, but I'm so excited about it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the projects that Mayor Fisher has named. It's been quite a year. President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan into law on March 21st, 2021, just over a year ago. Less than a year ago, on May 10th, the federal government issued an interim final rule regarding the use of the funds. Metro Council held hearings and took public comment over the summer and passed a resolution in August setting 5 priority areas for use of the funds: homelessness and affordable housing, workforce development, healthy Louisville, healthy neighborhoods, public safety, premium pay, and public health. In previous rounds of funding, we have addressed affordable housing and services to homeless neighbors with historic funding. We've expanded public safety efforts in the Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods and in policing technology. We've provided premium pay to Metro employees who worked throughout the pandemic, with the highest amounts for people on the front lines serving the public while many of us were working from home. And we funded pandemic-related health efforts. Today, we continue to address public safety with 3-year funding of an Office of Youth Development centered in the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods. Council members of both parties from all over the county have heard Christopher Truex and others talk about the need for community involvement to positively transform the lives of children and young people and violence long-term and make communities safer. And youth development funding in this ordinance is another step in that effort. I know that Councilman Corey Arthur is going to speak about that a little more. And I want to recognize Keith Talley, who's standing here, who has been so effective at talking about the need to invest in our youth to address our public safety challenges in the community. The ordinance that we are filing includes nearly $9 million in parks improvements from Iroquois to Berrytown, including $5 million to add to already approved funding for the Algonquin and Norton pools. Councilman Purvis could not be here today, but she asked me to note, I'm excited to see that District 5 will be a recipient of ARP funds to enhance and upgrade both Chickasaw and Elliott parks. These parks are staples in the community where family and friends have shared a bond. Libraries will be transformed and reopened with this funding. The $800,000 for the Portland Library adds to $2 million in funding in last year's budget, as well as a library grant and funding from the Library Foundation. I want to recognize representatives of the Library Foundation here. And it will allow a $4.9 million renovation and expansion of the Portland Library, a Carnegie Library, the only one in the city that has not been improved. Councilman Purvis also wanted to make note of that, saying this will help promote needed literacy efforts in her district. $800,000, which is added to the $500,000 in last year's budget, will finally reopen the Parkland Library. And there are many advocates for that across the community, including Councilman Arthur, who may want to have a few words about that as well. $5 million will help us reopen a library in Fir Creek, which none of us wanted to close when we faced a very difficult budget 3 years ago. $5 million adds to the amount already appropriated to move that project along and reopen the library in Fir Creek. While we've built state-of-the-art regional libraries in Southwest, South Central, and Northeast Louisville in the last 10 years and during Mayor Fisher's term, we have not invested in the same way in the main library, which is really the regional library for the rest of the county. And this ordinance changes that with an $8 million investment that will transform that building. Lee Birchfield is here, and I know if you want to speak to him after the press conference about what we can do with that building with $8 million, he'd be very happy to talk about it. There's also funding for broadband improvements, partnering to provide service for developing areas of the county that are completely without service. I see Councilman Benson here. I know that's one of the reasons he's here today. He's been a fierce advocate for expanding broadband throughout all of the county. We will also make efforts to make service more available to underserved residents in other parts of the community. The ordinance will now go before the council's budget committee on May 12th. It will follow the normal pattern. We'll have a debate about it. If it passes out of the committee on May 12th, it could be considered by the full council as soon as May 19th. There are 6 sponsors on the ordinance today, including a bipartisan group, including the vice chair of the committee, Kevin Kramer, who's been very involved in this process. Some details are online now as an attachment to the ordinance that has been filed. There will be more details coming to the agenda in the next few weeks before the committee meeting on May 12th. If passed as written, this would leave $53 million in ARP funds unallocated. A work group, the Workforce Development Priority Area, continues to meet with a goal of appropriating those funds before the end of the calendar year. $9.5 million is proposed here for workforce development projects, reentry employment services, and a separate project that addresses workforce development and housing issues on the Simmons College campus. I also want to mention, and I know Councilwoman Chambers Armstrong has been a very strong advocate by lead among our children. I want to thank the many council members who have attended dozens of meetings to review proposals and offer comments. I want to thank the many groups and city departments that submitted proposals and say that I wish we could fund more of them. Even with these extraordinary funds, we have more good ideas than resources. I also want to thank Margaret Handmaker and her team. Margaret is here. They have been reviewing proposals in these new areas, even as they work to get agreements in place for the funds already appropriated. This will leave, if the ordinance is passed as proposed, it will leave $53 million in ARP funds unallocated. And the workforce group is continuing to work on that. We hope to pass that, as I said, by the end of November. The American Rescue Plan is an extraordinary opportunity for Louisville, and the entire community has come together to make the best use of these funds, starting with the public engagement process over the summer and continuing right up to today. I thank everyone who has been involved.
Good afternoon, and I want to start with thanking Budget Chair Bill Hollander for his extraordinary leadership. The sheer amount of time he has committed to this process has been incredible, and also Margaret Handmaker for her leadership on behalf of the administration in this process. A couple of weeks ago, we stood up here as the mayor signed an ordinance eliminating the restrictive zoning barriers that have stopped child care centers from opening, and it made more early learning opportunities available to those children. At that time, we talked about the struggles that parents and children have faced over the past 2 years, how the number of Kentucky women that have left the workforce during COVID-19 could fill Cardinal Stadium almost twice. We said that eliminating those zoning barriers was a step in the right direction, that it was the beginning of a lifeline for our families with young children, but that we needed to do more to ensure that every young child in Louisville has the opportunity to receive high quality learning opportunities. When I think about what healthy communities means, it means the ways that we are investing in opportunities for our city's youngest learners. Today, I'm proud to say our city is taking another significant step towards investing in our children. And we know investing in our children is the best investment we can make for the future health of our community. This ordinance includes $7.5 million additional dollars for early learning and childcare, bringing the total in this category to just over $10 million. One of the most significant investments our city has ever made in our city's youngest learners in this way. This money, if approved, would go to things like small loans and grants for those who want to open either center-based or home-based care, funding improvements to playgrounds and outdoor learning spaces, increasing access to developmental screens, and resources to address COVID-related delays in our youngest children. This ordinance also includes an additional $1 million to address the issues lead poses for children in our city. Since 2005, almost 10,000 children in our city have tested positive for lead poisoning. That is over 350 preschool classrooms of children. There is no cure for lead poisoning, which means the only way to get at this issue is to be proactive and provide parents and communities with the resources they need. We have to do more to educate parents about the hazards of lead and property owners, incentivize lead screening, and make sure that we have the capabilities to track, identify, and remove lead in our community. The money in this ordinance could be a game changer for so many families. As someone with a public health degree, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm also excited about the investment to ensure our public health department has the resources it needs to continue its good work around COVID and our city's ongoing public health needs. It's wonderful that that is in the ordinance as well. This ordinance as written is a significant step forward for our youngest children in our city. That's an important thing. And I'm so thankful to everyone who has put time and effort into this process. With that, I will turn it over to Councilman Ja'Cory Arthur. Thank you.
I turned 30 on May 19th, so if we pass this ordinance, that'll be a hell of a birthday present. I'm a proud resident of the historically Black neighborhood, Russell. And over the past few years, driving up and down West Jefferson Street, I've seen the Beecher Terrace apartments and their construction progress. And at the same time, I've seen our community center regress. A community center that has served generations of kids and families in the Russell neighborhood. A community center that sits in Baxter Square, the very first public park. And I'm proud that this ordinance changes that. Not only renovating the community center itself, but also creating a new park at 13th and Muhammad Ali Boulevard that the Russell residents will get to name. Growing up in the 90s felt like Disney World because we didn't have a library in my neighborhood, Parkland, but this ordinance changes that too. Bringing those services back to the neighborhood, essential services addressing literacy needs, addressing programmatic needs with our arts and culture institutions, having a place to come right in the middle of our historic neighborhood is so important. And last for me, the Office of Youth Development. Often when we talk about youth in this city, we've identified for some reason ages 16 to 24. But when we pass this ordinance, we will fully fund for the next 3 years programming to meet the needs of ages 10 through 24. We'll expand on the Louisville Youth Network, making sure that all of our youth service organizations have an umbrella to meet the needs of youth across this city. We'll have a designated Louisville Metro government employee who is working on local, but also state and federal youth services, bringing them back to the city. We'll have a youth external agency fund where more of our youth service organizations can apply for funding and get resources that they desperately need. I've been serving youth over the past decade, and I hear so often, we don't have anything for our kids to do. I can honestly say that is not true. We have thousands of youth programs. We have tens of thousands of people dedicated to serving our youth. Unfortunately, they don't always have the resources that they need to succeed. They struggle to work together, and our youth are left out of the decision-making process. And this ordinance addresses all of that, and which might be my favorite part of this ordinance. My favorite part about bringing the Office of Youth Development, making it fully funded, is we're bringing back something that I thought was an urban legend. I only heard about it from my aunts and uncles growing up. We're bringing back neighborhood youth boards. We're going to fully fund having 15 young people in each council district, almost 400 people across the city in every corner of Louisville, helping council members, helping elected officials, government officials make decisions about your government. Our youth are ready to do that. We always talk about how they're the future. They're the right now. We just need to make sure we do what we can to invest in them. And I feel like this ordinance is finally putting our ARP money where our mouth is. I'm ready. I feel like the people behind me are ready. We need the community to join us. Let your council member know this ordinance desperately needs to be passed. This funding needs to be allocated, and we need to support the people who are going to be standing on this stage when we're all gone. The next generation to come after us. Let's pass this thing. All right. I almost forgot. Go Falcons.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody. I don't know if this is the right way to say that, but I want to thank everybody for not giving up on our community and their projects. For so many years, this is my 12th and final year as mayor, for so many years I've just had to say, that's a great project. Let's keep working on it. Someday, we'll have the opportunity to fund the project. And every year with the operating budget and the capital budget, we're able to, knock out a few of those projects. But with these American Rescue Plan funds, we're going to have tremendous riches coming to our community all throughout Louisville on things that we just had dreamed about before and didn't know we were going to be able to do them this quickly. And so there's just going to be lots of smiles, I think, in the communities as these projects come about. And it's so important for people to have hope. And when you're building something in their community and projects that they've long advocated for, to see them springing out of the ground, new life coming to them, people just say, okay, it's working. And that means we all come together and achieve even more. So this is what these American Rescue Plan funds have done. This is what you all have done. Our citizens that have been just patiently waiting, getting together best practice ideas in the country and saying, this is how it can come together at the Baxter Community Center or the Parkland Library or Fern Creek. But now it's going to happen. So put our seatbelts on. There's going to be lots of announcements about new projects coming into the community. Then we'll be building them over the next several years and lots more celebrations to come. But it's been happening because of a lot of hard work from a lot of people in this room and throughout our community. I, too, want to thank Margaret Handmaker, who came out of retirement once again to be the super citizen that she is, to help lead this American Rescue Plan project initiative that we have. It's a huge project, almost $400 million, all kind of reporting requirements, eligibility requirements. It took someone of Margaret's singular skill and experience to help get this done. So Margaret Handmaker, thank you so much. In our hardworking Office of Management and Budget that Monica Harmon leads. Not only are they figuring out all of the American Rescue Plan, but we're going to be announcing FY23's budget on Thursday. So they've been doing this while they're preparing the next budget, while they're taking care of the day-to-day business. So Monica, to you and your team, I want to say thank you very much as well. So with that, we're happy to take any questions.
Mayor, we saw a press conference yesterday in which ElderServe announced that they were closing the doors. They serve thousands of residents. Is there any possibility that any of this ARP money is available to an organization like ElderServe?
Well, we're very concerned about that announcement. So there's a group of people that are working as we speak to see how we can kind of intervene in that situation so that the older folks there in particular, and it's not so much thousands, but it's a significant number of people that rely on ElderServe for nutrition and other activities. So that is not something that when we heard about that we just said, well, that's okay. That's not okay. So we hope here in the near term to have a solution for that.
Thanks.
Moving forward, you have not concerns, but how do you fund this ongoing? So this is a one-time drop of money. How do you fund some of these things 3, 5, 10 years down the road so that it's not cut like we saw 3 years ago?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So you got to take a look at the funding and how much of it's capital versus how much of it's operating. And our operating numbers, what, Monica, probably about 20% or so of the entire American Rescue Plan projects. So that will be a decision point that the future council and the future mayor is going to have to make. We're being very transparent about that. We're bringing a lot of innovative programs into play. Councilman Arthur talked about the Office for Youth Development, Ocean, all of those we're putting in place new ideas to prevent and intervene with young people so that they can have a better life, but it's new. So the question is going to be is what kind of results can we get with that? What's the return on investment look like? And we're going to have to take a look at that in probably 3 years or so in the budget at that point in time and say, okay, what's going to continue? What's going to stop? Where are the revenues at that point in time for the city? What are pension obligations? How are foundations helping us out? Are we growing our economy fast enough so that business revenues come into taxes, et cetera? So that is a real-time issue. But what we were not going to do is not invest this money wisely today to see how we can improve the city. Your question is right on point.
I know more specifics might come out later, but can you talk maybe a bit more about that 9th Street property, what could go in there at that rodeo site? And then also with the Simmons College, are there more specifics available on the Simmons College?
Yeah, I'll take the rodeo site and give the Simmons question to our budget chair. The rodeo, of course, has been sitting there for a long time waiting for development, but we can't do that before it's remediated. It's going to cost, I think it's $10.5 million to remediate that property. So that's a significant chunk of change. So it took something like the rescue plan to give us the foundation to do that before we had a project to put there. Now, we all know, too, it's a chicken and the egg kind of thing, is you want to get it done so that now the property is ready for a development to come along. So we're optimistic that it can be put to good use for the city.
So the Simmons project is estimated to be $14 million. This is a matching grant project. It calls for some workforce development, training at about $1 million in the project. $860,000, I think, is the project request. There would also be a building constructed there to provide housing on the Simmons campus. And again, this is a matching program, so this would require private funds to match this appropriation.
Yeah, 7 and 7, not 14 and 14. Okay, anybody else? All right, well, it's an exciting day. You put this on top of all the other ARP announcements, and then we'll have workforce announcements coming up here over the next several months as well that really with the overall economy of the city is doing quite well also. So it's another good day in our city. Thanks, everybody.
It was 2,000 a year. NPR reported on Monday.
They don't feed 2,000 people.
I would never lie to you.
Well, no, you've been here, so we're very concerned about that.
Well, let me do this real quick.
Yeah.
Tell me, because there was a protest out there on Monday, and the CEO Patty Belden actually joined the protest and spoke a little bit about it. So, what can be done to keep that essential community service from being, shut down?
Yeah, we heard about it when everybody else did, which is disappointing. So we've been in touch with the board we've been in touch with other supporters as well, so that we can understand what happened, and then B, how we can keep food service going, in particular to
Right.
our older folks that we're serving out there. So there's a group of people working on that right now, so that we hope we can have a solution quickly and not have an interruption in services. The folks were sent to some of our neighborhood places to see how they could place the services they had. And this is all happening very fast in a manner that was surprising to a lot of people. So we're jumping right in the middle of it.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it. Okay. Thanks, Councilman Arthur.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Big love, big peace.
Big love to you.